Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. I am so sorry about the cold and making you stand outside. I had the opportunity to tour this ICE facility with a couple of my staff members who work on these issues every day. And while we felt the people who work in here were certainly cordial to us and answered many of our questions, so many of the issues that we deal with every day have to do with the policies of this administration, the increased issues around picking people up, the lack of transparency, and some of the lingering issues about getting your counsel in when you come here. I'm lucky enough to have Melissa Brennan with me here today, who's from ILAP, and we're going to ask her to speak in a minute, but she has firsthand knowledge of what happens in here when you are not allowed to have legal counsel, which is just a basic fundamental issue. So some of the challenges are that people get asked to come to a facility like this, don't know exactly why they're here, and they're made to work with an independent contractor. Now, we specifically asked for the contractor to be here today, and they were not present. So we are going to have to make another attempt to connect with the contractor. The contractor is the one who often denies people the ability to bring their attorney in when they have a meeting for their check-in, a routine kind of meeting, or some kind of a alternative to detention that goes on in here. We checked out that office. We were told there were space limitations on bringing attorneys, so that's just bullshit. There's plenty of room in there. You can bring in an attorney, or the attorney can stand in the doorway. So we can hear a little bit more about that from Melissa. I will say overall, our office deals with a lot of issues. Working with ICE generally has a pathway to get our questions answered, never does when we're dealing with CBP, and many of the pickups come from CBP. You might have seen the news today that showed that there's been a huge increase, about 73%, in the number of pickups, which just continues to concern people about why they're being brought into here and why this administration is doing so much more of a crackdown. About 20% of those people actually have a criminal conviction. So one of the questions that we pursued for quite a long time is, why are the other people being picked up? What if there's just a, sort of an inkling, or they were in the same car? Why does that happen? And there's been so many changes in this administration that are extremely frustrating for people. And I think there are a lot of high-profile cases that we hear about every day, whether it's the police officer, I think in a gun quit, or the family with a soccer player in Portland that was recently removed. We asked a whole variety of questions around that. Why are some families separated? Why was that family removed? We will continue to pursue these issues. That's why we're here. We have a responsibility to continue to do oversight, and we will continue to do that. Let me bring in Melissa before she freezes to death back here, and just ask her to talk a little bit about the attorneys, and I'm sure you guys have questions, and it'll warm you up to ask the questions. So
thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Brennan, and I'm a co-legal director at the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project, or ILAP. ILAP is Maine's only statewide immigration legal services organization, serving people who would otherwise not be able to afford access to an immigration attorney. Thank you so much to Representative Pingree for the invitation to be here today, as she exercised her congressional oversight powers in order to protect and uphold the rights and dignity of Maine's immigrant residents and all of us. In today's climate, we know congressional oversight of an ICE facility is no small matter. We have seen members of Congress and other elected officials across the country denied access and even arrested as they sought to uphold our democracy, our rule of law, and put checks and balances on the federal administration's power and anti-immigrant agenda. In our work at ILAP, our attorneys represent people who are periodically required to check in with ICE at this facility. And under previous administrations, these types of check-ins were much more routine. Now they carry the highest stakes. Earlier this year, ILAP clients were denied access to their attorneys during appointments at this facility in violation of their constitutional rights. And I represent one of the clients who experienced this directly. In this environment of indiscriminate enforcement, chaos, and cruelty, he was absolutely terrified to appear at this ICE appointment. But like so many others, he was trying his best to comply with the government's requirements of him. And as has become the norm, there was a complete lack of transparency from ICE about as to what the appointment was about and what my client and I could expect. I had filed paperwork in advance identifying myself as his attorney, but when we arrived here at the ICE office, I was denied access to come inside with him, and he was forced to enter alone. In addition to being asked questions away from the guidance and protection of his lawyer, he was asked to sign documents. And this type of unchecked power, this lack of transparency, intimidation, and disregard for basic constitutional rights is why Representative Pingree's oversight work was so critical here today. We hope that this work, along with the efforts of other elected officials across the country, will help to ensure the rights, dignity, and safety of all people interacting with the immigration system. Because either constitutional rights apply to all of us or they apply to none of us. Thank you again so much for the opportunity to be here. Yes, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for being able to provide us with the firsthand information that we were able to talk about today. So I'm sure you guys have some questions.
Yeah, so Congresswoman, were your questions answered? Like, did you get any more information about why attorneys haven't been allowed access to this facility?
Well, one of the problems was where they were in that meeting with an independent contractor, so we found that the people in this facility passed the buck. So we had specifically asked for the independent contractor to be here today. They weren't, but we will absolutely make contact as soon as possible.
So who is this independent contractor, and like how are they related to ICE?
The name of the company is By
Incorporated.
Yeah, so it's called By Incorporated. They are contracted like so many government offices are. Now, our contention with them is that ICE has ultimate oversight, but in terms of the supervisor in this office, we have to go above them to make sure that we're dealing with ICE directly. It was definitely a passing of the buck, but we will continue to pursue this. That is the independent contractor that has the contract to do the check-ins that we're talking about. Many people come in here for these check-ins, which used to be routine and just something that you did. Now often end up in you being detained or possibly deported.
So today were you talking with ICE officials?
Yes.
Okay. But the contractors weren't here.
The contractors were not here. So while we took all the time we possibly could to tour the facility, see the detention facilities, and ask every question we could, all of our questions have not been answered, and we will continue to pursue them.
So what is the result of them like coming in and then not being able to have their lawyer there? Like they just documents? Like,
Well, as you heard, people might be asked to sign a document,
Yeah.
or they're often asked questions that they shouldn't have to answer. You might want to be more specific.
What kind of documents would they have to sign?
The list of possibilities is really like unknown. In my particular case, my client was enrolling in was forced to enroll in an alternatives to detention program where he would have his whereabouts monitored. He didn't even understand what he was signing. And I think what's really most important is that people are deprived of that opportunity to consult with someone, to feel the assurance of having your legal counsel next to you, just as much as it is about, ultimate legal consequences.
And just to be clear, so this company, By Incorporated, they're the ones who are contracted to put an ankle bracelet on somebody so they can monitor your whereabouts, or to put software on your phone, an application on your phone that can determine where you are and what you're doing. All of us would be frightened if somebody was asking to put an application on your phone, but you weren't sure exactly what was going on. And many times people don't have any preparation when they're coming in about why they've been asked to do this.
And these are people that aren't detained, but their immigration status is like in question?
It could be a whole variety of reasons. They are not currently detained. They may be somebody who is in the process of waiting for an asylum decision, or a decision has been made but they haven't been removed from the country, but they have agreed to a check-in, or they are asked to check in. Now, so much is changing. As you may have heard us say, last week the president decided to name 19 countries where you can't get your work permit renewed, or certain things can't be adjudicated. Things are changing all the time, so you can imagine being maybe even a longtime resident of the state of Maine that has a work permit that's been considered to be legally here, and suddenly things change, you get called in, but you don't know exactly what changed. Why didn't they call you 3 years ago? That happens all the time in this administration.
The incident that you were referring to, around what time did that occur? Was that recently, over the summer, or?
That was, I believe it was early summer. It was several months ago now, yes.
And we had, when we started to hear about the lack of representation, we have notified them of our concerns, so we're not sure if it happens less. But again, because we couldn't talk to the contractor, who clearly avoided our visit since we asked for that to happen, and we asked directly through ICE, where ICE has oversight, so they should have provided that person, and we will continue to pursue that, absolutely.
I'm also curious, the letter that you'd sent back in September related to all of this, did you ever get a response from Christy Noem, any sort of communication in terms of answering your question there?
Did we get that just kind of nasty response? We got a very terse response from Washington saying that we were lying about this, that I was just doing it to make a political statement as opposed to my congressional oversight or my deep concern for people who deserve to have their attorney present, and we have not heard anything since. But we will do a follow-up letter about the concerns that were raised today and make sure that we get an early appointment to meet with the contractor.
Is anyone being detained here currently?
There was one person in the facility who was just being served as we were in there.
And how long are people held in this office when they're detained?
Now, we were told today that no one has spent the night. So it's just a short-term detention facility. The people are immediately moved either somewhere in Maine or, as we know, often somewhere outside of Maine. We asked if anyone is directly deported from here, and they told us no, they could go into detention, but no one has been deported from here. Again, we're only operating on the information that we've been told. But we have deep concerns about all of these things, and particularly the ramping up, the increase in budgets, the increase in activities from this administration, which seems to only be growing.
So you said that you had a harder time in general getting through to CBP. So is that like trying to get through to Border Patrol?
Yes, they do many more of the arrests. They're credited with many more of the arrests that concern people, such as the detention of the family with the soccer player in Portland. And they also don't have any transparency around a search capacity. So ICE does have, the computerized ability for us to find somebody. We also have people we can call. And generally, if someone calls here and asks if a family member is detained here, they will answer the question, whereas none of those things happen with CBP.
Is it clear how many, what the capacity was for detention here?
There are 3 holding cells. They told us they've never had more than 5 people.
There was reported construction on this building over the summer. Was that clear? Was it related to this facility or the building at large?
If there was construction, it wasn't going on right now. Maybe they were working on the detention cells. We didn't see anything that was out of line for a facility like this. And we asked a lot of questions about access to, food or using the bathroom or calling your lawyer. And again, no one answered the question in a way that seemed out of line.
Regarding the attorneys being denied presence at some of these check-ins, is there like a clear number yet or like scope of how many times that has occurred?
We have 3 documented cases, but there may be other cases that we don't know about. People may not always report that they don't get to bring in their attorney because they're confused or baffled, or they're moved to detention. One of the biggest challenges that people are often moved to detention in another state, and we aren't able to track them down.
Can I ask one off-topic question about the extension of the tax credits for ACA
Yes.
for the next 2 years? Would you be in favor of that, and why or why not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very much in favor of that. I think the Senate proposal they're voting on this week is to extend them for 3 years. I mean, we have so many people in Maine who, and many of whom have called our office or we've met with, who are deeply worried about the doubling or tripling of their insurance costs. A lot of small business owners, farmers, fishermen, people who are independently employed and get their insurance on the exchange. So it's a huge issue, and it's just, it's appalling, it's outrageous that the Republicans have refused to deal with this. So we haven't hit the end of the year yet. I'm hoping when we go back to Washington tomorrow, the House will cast a vote on it, but so far we don't have a plan before us.
One other off-topic question about the PFAS legislation introduced by yourself and the delegation. I saw that previous effort on that bill had not advanced in Washington. Do you feel like this time will be any different? Has anything changed?
Well, in the prior EPA, we had a fair amount of cooperation, both on research and at the USDA as well. We were able to get more funding at the into the state of Maine to support farmers, to support research. This administration has taken a very different tack on PFAS, and we are deeply worried that they're going to lower the standards, they're going to stop the research, and so I think it's important to reintroduce this bill and to keep the pressure on. I'm amazed you made it for that many questions. Anything else I didn't say that you want to add?
No, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Sorry we don't have a little more juice for you here, but we got all we could out of them. But we will let you know when we get back in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting, and sorry it's so cold.